Coming up later in the show, Cowboys star Dak Prescott tells us his secret to a successful first year for this season's rookie quarterbacks. Plus, I caught up with Jaguars star Calais Campbell for a little trickery. You don't want to miss the defensive end prank calling his teammates. But first, we begin the show with a little Tom Brady.
I think I'm seeing that there's definitely an end coming sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. What does that end look like? Is that 43? Is it 45?
Yeah.
Is it?
As long as I'm still loving it.
As long as you're loving it, you're going to do it.
Yes, as long as I'm loving the training and the preparation and willing to make the commitment. But it's also, there's other things happening in my life too. Well, my kids have brought a great perspective in my life.
Welcome to NFL Live. We just found out Jack and Diane. How about this? I'm loving this.
Just add an A.
Diana Rossini, Jeff Saturday, the great Louis Riddick. I'm Jack. Here we go. Gotta love 2018. I mean, this is the first time in world history where a 40-year-old man takes to Instagram, drops a little comment, and it launches the start of a television show. That's what happened when Patriots quarterback Tom Brady responded to an ESPN Instagram post referencing his comments to Oprah on retiring sooner rather than later by writing 45. Did a little Spanish research. That is 45 in the Spanish language. He followed that up with the 3 monkey emojis. All right, I'm coming to you first, Diana. Why the monkeys, do we think?
What's
the secret to this whole thing?
Jets, Bills, Dolphins. That's what I saw.
Oh.
So the 3 monkeys, they're going, they don't want to see it, they don't want to hear it, and they don't want to be talking about Tom Brady.
Well played.
That was my thought when I saw those first 3. But I actually did a little research on what it actually means. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So it makes sense, and because nobody wants to see him anymore in that division. Nobody wants to hear him, and nobody wants to talk about him. So that makes sense with the monkeys.
Who is going to explain this situation, the situation to Bill Belichick? How is that going to
be? Like,
let me
what
tell you
is
something.
this?
Not only will no one explain it to him, he doesn't care. He does not care. This is what he wants to know. Are you going to be here this season, and are you going to continue to do what you've done the last 3 years? I mean, you think about what he's done. He's thrown for over 4,000 yards, 2 of the 3, and the one he didn't. He missed 4 games, 30-plus touchdowns, minimum interceptions. This guy flat out can still play. So whatever year he wants to retire, if he keeps throwing the ball the way he's throwing it right now, Bill Belichick doesn't care about emojis. He doesn't care about if it's going to be 45, 47, 42. Just give him what you can give him when you can play. And that's exactly what Brady does each and every season.
I think Tom is at a point in his career where he says, you know what? I do see the end coming, and I'm going to go out my way. How about that? How about I'm still going to be one of the greats of all time on the football field when it comes time to play, right? I'm going to be Tom Brady. I'm going to be number 12. I'm going to have the eye black on. Everybody's going to be screaming my name. But I'm going to let you in on a little bit of how I really am. All my entire career, I've been the company guy. My entire career, I've given you milquetoast answers. My entire career, it's been about the team, the team, the team. I do what's best for the team. I always do what's best for the team. I accept the contract that's best for the team. I don't ever say anything controversial. I don't do anything. Now it's my time. Now I'm going to let you in on a little bit. And you know what? I bet at this point, he's still also, I said this earlier today, I think Tom is looking for something to kind of keep his fire going.
Absolutely.
So he's having a little bit of fun.
Absolutely.
He's needling people a little bit. He's kind of going outside of Bill's normal method of operation and going, this is who I am in this look at me, Graham world that we all live in. And this is hey, let me let you in on who Tom Brady really is.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to show up for training camp, and then I'm just going to cut your heart out like I usually do anyway.
Yeah, and you heard him say, you
heard
him say, as
I
he
like
went
this
through.
new Tom Brady.
Yeah,
I did too.
Do I still
you like the look at me?
Am I still having
No, you know what? I just look. This guy.
No,
Look, this guy has been the ultimate soldier, though. I mean, he has accepted. Look, Tom should have been being paid far more than he's been paid for a long time, but he has sacrificed for the good of the team, and that's why he has multiple rings and championships. And I will never ever argue against the Patriot way in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not the guy who really is into the whole, look at me type of philosophy. I just like seeing this part of him because I want to see more of him.
I would say this. The one caveat to what you're saying is the Patriot way, which is Belichick's way, for lack of a better way of describing that, he has been there each and every time. That includes OTAs. That includes voluntary workouts or whatever you want to call those things. The difference for him when he starts to take this and you're seeing this part is what does that do to affect the locker room? I mean, you think about guys like Richard Seymour who came into Patriots years and years ago, one of the greatest defensive linemen I ever played against. But to corral and keep him in line of the Patriot way, and how many guys have bought in, the Teddy Bruces of the world, the Mike Vrabels of the world, Ty Lawton, all these guys bought in together. And you and I both know on the offensive side of the ball, the quarterback is the one who drives that. So him being in that building and the way that he brings everybody else into the fold, that is important. So the one thing I would say about seeing the new Tom, which I love too, I love hearing his personality, I love all those things, is can everybody else follow along and continue to produce? He's going to continue to produce because he is who he is, but it's the other guys coming in. Can they continue to see, hey, Tom is the same guy because he's going to work that way. You can't come in talking. He's talking, 15, 16, 18 years in. There's a difference in that because he's built the credibility.
There's the great question, right?
Yes.
I mean, now it's about still, can the Patriot way still, like, and I've said this before too, Jeff, look, the Patriot way is bigger than Tom.
Absolutely.
It's bigger than Bill. It's like its own self-sustaining machine now. And players will have to, I'm going to give players the benefit of the doubt and assume this. Young players coming in know that they can't do this.
Yes. Don't do a docu-series. Don't do Brady.
Do it like my dad used to tell me, do what I say, don't do what I do.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what you better do.
Is he reveling a little bit? Is he reveling out a little bit? I mean, you got the docu-series, you got the Instagram.
Absolutely,
you think this is rebelling, though, just by him doing three monkeys against the Patriot? Absolutely. And here's the thing, because there are some that question, is this really Brady doing it? Does he have a marketing machine? I can tell you, I've been in that locker room. The second the game ends, or at least where the media is allowed in the locker room, he is on his seat in front of his locker, because I've looked over his shoulder, and he is on Instagram. And he's scrolling through and looking through. And I almost took a
you know what's
picture
cool, though? But you know what that is? That's newsflash. Tom is actually human. He's human.
Not a robot.
No, he's not.
That's pretty cool,
so
isn't it?
What would that be, 2023 that he would still be playing? Are we willing to say signed, sealed, delivered? Why do you say this? Why would you say this if you didn't mean it? If you're Tom Brady?
No, I think he fully means that.
He's said it before.
Yeah.
He told our broadcast crew on Monday Night Football. He told John Gruden and Sean McDonough last season, I want to play till I'm 45 years old. This is not a new revelation. It's just the fact that he's toying with us now about it, because is this going to be a reality?
And here's the difference, is he's playing at a level that would lead you to believe that 5 more years isn't a reach.
There has been nothing from the outside looking in to suggest that, he's slipping.
That's right.
And
no scout would look at him and go, oh, no, he ain't got it anymore. Everybody's going, holy mackerel.
You think he doesn't know that people are waiting now?
Yes.
People are looking for. So what do you think he's doing in his private time? He's not slacking.
No.
He's just doing it somewhere else, which is, I think that makes the intrigue even bigger. I think it lights a fire underneath him that's even hotter and that burns even more fierce than it has before, if that's even possible. You're talking about a guy who still believes he's not respected.
There's one element, though, that you two can speak to that Jack and I can't, and that is, in that Oprah interview, what stood out to me was how he spoke of his children. And even in his documentary series on Facebook, his kids are 5, 8, and 10, right? So they're still young, and they're going to start growing, obviously. And if you think about how old they'll be by the time he wants to wrap that up around 45, that's the age, and again, you guys can speak to it, his dad's better. That's the age they're going to want their dad around, helping them learn how to drive, taking them to practice. And that seems important to him. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor. How much does he want to be a father versus putting all the time into being an elite quarterback?
There's that newsflash again. Tom's human.
Yeah.
He values things that just don't necessarily involve figuring out how to cut you up on third down.
Right. And
that's all right.
And here,
that's cool.
And the part for Tom is, and this is for every father, every mother, you name it, anybody who is raising children, is at what point do you feel like you're missing out? And that's going to go from year to year. You can say 5 years, you can say, but, if his children decide they were going to get heavy into some sport or heavy into some kind of, some kind of hobby that they love and they want dad there supporting, when the kids start looking at you at night and be like, hey, Dad, can you be there? And you can't be there, whether it's a play, whether it's a game, whether it's a practice they want you at, whatever it is.
It could flip the whole thing on its head.
And it could be instant. I mean, it could be an instant, hey, I'm good. I'm done. This is it. Yep. My wife and I, my family, we're going to ride out in the sunset. Here's how we're going to do it. That is the one thing that you can never. Time doesn't matter. You can put whatever year you want. But when that child looks at you and says, hey, this is what I want, everything flips over and changes. And that's going to be a decision only he can make.
Happy Father's Day week, my guys. Happy Father's Day.
Good dads right
He would
here.
be the first quarterback at age 45 to ever start a game since the Super Bowl era began. Now time for 5 in, 5 out, debuting this new series this week. It's getting going. 20 of the past 22 years, 5 new teams have appeared in the playoffs. Last season, there were 8 new playoff teams. Based on that, more than 20 of our insiders, analysts, voted on 5 teams in, 5 teams out. Texans, Chargers, Packers, Ravens, Niners new to the mix. Panthers, Titans, Bills, Chiefs, Falcons out. So far, we've looked at 4 teams. Now our analysts say the Packers are headed back to the playoffs in 2018. We'll discuss, but first, here's a look back at their 2017.
Beautiful afternoon here in Green Bay. We're underway in the 2017 season. Rodgers, rainbows left side. Geronimo Allison's got it. And the Packers win in overtime. Aaron throws. Leaping grab. Yes! Devontae Adams. Yes! Touchdown Green Bay! Snap to Rodgers. Steps up, scrambles right, buying time, dumps it up. Another drop for Martellus Bennett.
Slow to get up, Wayne.
And he's down.
Hundley, line drive pass, diving interception.
3 interceptions on the day for Brett Hundley. Quick toss, Adams left side, spins loose to the end zone for the touchdown, and the Packers have won.
I'm not coming back to save this team.
On the run, lofts it deep down the right side, intercepted. 3rd interception for Aaron Rodgers today.
It's not the fairy tale that we were hoping. Obviously saw it going a little differently.
After seeing an 8-year playoff run come to an end, 2 new coordinators in Green Bay. They bring back Joe Philbin, and I also added defensive coordinator and Mike Pettin, who will lead the charge there defensively. Back in March, the team cut veteran wideout Jordy Nelson for cap purposes. You may remember, not sure A-Rod like that one. Nelson's 14 touchdown catches of 50 or more yards since 2008, second most in the NFL during that period. The team also snagged Jimmy Graham in free agency. Led all tight ends with 10 touchdown catches last season, and they add defensive end Muhammad Wilkerson as well. But the biggest news of all, Aaron Rodgers has 2 years left on that contract. The Packers are due for a mega extension on that one.
Mega.
So, why are the Packers in? Anybody care to answer?
Well, I think there's a number of different reasons. Well, number one, overall, look, offensively, they should be even more diverse in terms of not having to rely on Aaron Rodgers and having their rush percentage be low compared to the rest of the National Football League. I think they have 2 good running backs now that they can be more balanced. And then from a passing game perspective, I know everyone hates the fact that Jordy Nelson, being one of Aaron's best friends, not being there is something that can be a negative. And to some degree, I'm sure it will be. But look, Jimmy Graham is a very unique between-the-numbers weapon. That will pick up the slack that Jordy has left behind as far as red zone TD production, where Jimmy Graham's one of the best in the NFL. So, and then defensively, look, we'll talk about it. They've made some improvements. So I think this football team, as long as they stay healthy, that's always the caveat, right?
Biggest one, Rodgers' health.
That's
Rodgers' health, playoff.
Everything
Rodgers,
plays out.
no.
Lou, how's that contract play out, though? What do you think?
Well, it's interesting. It always takes 2 to tango, right? It's always about that. And I know the contract discussion has been something that's been huge for us all offseason long. Why isn't Aaron Donald getting done? Why isn't Khalil Mack getting done? Why isn't OBJ getting done? Well, the one thing that we don't know, we always hear from the players. We always want the players to get paid. As former players,
absolutely,
we want our money.
Get that cash.
But look, from the team side, understand that they are working with a salary cap, right? You think that these front offices don't know, like in Aaron Rodgers' case or in a guy like Aaron Donald's case, you think they don't know that these guys are great? You think they don't know that these guys are destined for gold jackets? They know the money's going to be astronomical. They want to pay it. GMs want to pay it. It's not their money. It's not like it's coming out of their pocket.
Right.
They want to give it to them, but you have to construct a football team. So you don't know where the players are coming in as far as what they're asking for. You just know that they're upset, and we're upset that the great players haven't been signed. But we don't know what they're asking for. So we just have to wait and see. I think, look, Aaron has all the leverage.
Absolutely.
He's got the hammer because he's the big dog. So we just...
And
if I'm Brian Gutekunst, I'm sitting there going, look, I know I'm going to have to pay you. I just don't know how high can we go.
And, Jack, you know how he feels about it. You remember the story where he ran into the Falcons GM in the airport and was like, hey, man, pay Matt Ryan. You know exactly how he feels about Matt Ryan saying, pay the man. In other words, Packers pay me as well. You know it's not.
Keep stepping up that ladder.
Yep.
He's no dummy.
All right, so let's talk about the weapons. Let's talk about the A-Rod weapons. It's going to look a little different for him this year. We'll play a little game we call upgrade or downgrade. Diana, lead us off. What about the receivers, tight end combination?
Listen, we're talking about a lot of optimism out there in Green Bay, but Jack, I'm going to go with a downgrade here. And, Lou touched on it a little bit. Listen, the chemistry between Jordy Nelson and Aaron Rodgers was magical. We know how much they appreciate each other, and we know how much A-Rod wanted him there. He was even vocal about it, upset that Green Bay didn't keep him on the roster. But you're looking at that roster and you can see what they have. It's a lot of young guys. Really, Devontae Adams is going to be the number one receiver there. Cobb, a veteran, of course, he's got some of those, Adams has some of those concussion issues. And I'm not sure Cobb can really carry such a big workload. In terms of the good, though, Jimmy Graham, powerful in the red zone. We saw what he did with Drew Brees in New Orleans. Lou touched on that quickly. So that's going to be surely the bright spot of that offense. But in terms of the weapons, they really took a gamble here. They rolled the die. I'm not really sure who their go-to guy is going to be there for Aaron Rodgers.
Lou, new faces on D2. Better or worse?
Yeah, look, I think they're going to be better on the defensive side for a number of different reasons. Look, specifically in the secondary, the drafting of Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson is huge. They need some people to be able to intercept the football. They need some people to be able to convert from a defensive perspective on third down and give the ball back to Aaron. The number one thing they really needed on this side of the football defensively, though, look, they needed more pass rush. They needed more perimeter outside pass rush. They didn't get it in the draft. I was a little disappointed that they didn't. But Mo Wilkerson is one of those guys.
Yes,
remember
sir.
Now, a couple of years ago, before he got paid in New York, this guy was wrecking shop. He could wreck you inside as a 3 technique and sub. In base, he could play outside as a regular 9 technique end and rush the passer. And he's a double-digit sack guy. He got paid, he got lazy. It's that simple. Wow. If he can if he can kind of recapture what he was, and these young kids didn't develop, and they listen to a guy like Tramon Williams, who Aaron Rodgers has already said he's one of the best signings we've had, because the young guys need to get with him and learn how to be a pro. And then, look, Jeff's going to talk about the fact that they have someone else leading them on that side of the ball, too.
And there's something good cooking and brewing out there in Green Bay on this defense, talking to players on this team, especially this specific unit. In terms of optimism, they're reeking of it, and it has everything to do with their new defensive coordinator.
There's no doubt. Listen, when you go from a coaching staff perspective, this is the greatest impact of the offseason for the Packers. And we'll start with Pettin, because that's who they're talking about, the new defensive coordinator. Listen, this guy will absolutely jump in your chest. He understands what has to get done. He understands which players need to do it. And listen, there'll be one voice. I love Dom Capers. I mean, no disrespect, but Pettin has a different attitude. And listen, when he has been a DC 5 times, all 5 teams were in the top 10 in defense, and that's what you're looking for. You go now to the next Joe Philbin, who's going to be the offensive coordinator on the other side of the ball. He has been in Green Bay before. This is when the team was their absolute best. Aaron Rodgers' best offensive season, 45 touchdowns, 6 picks, and over 4,600 yards. Coming back, and listen, I played with guys. He left the year I went to Green Bay. The offensive line loved Joe Philbin because he still had stress on the run game. As good as Aaron and all those weapons were, he knew you had to pin your ears back, be able to go play aggressive offensive line play. Guys loved that. They loved his attitude. Everybody in that organization spoke highly of Philbin. So I think both of those. The only iffy for me is Cignetti, and that's just because of the relationship between Aaron and Van Pelt. The friendship was there. And here's the deal. We all know offensive quarterback coaches or coordinators, they have a different relationship with quarterbacks. And sometimes you need a guy who you can go kind of just voice your, just kind of air the aggravations of what we all go through each week. That will be the only one that's kind of up in the air for me is, can he be that guy that Aaron Rodgers confides in, or does he kind of go with McCarthy on everything? Because you got to have a guy when that quarterback comes off and he wants to yell about offensive linemen, or he wants to yell about the calls, whatever it is, you have a nice guy with a voice of reason to go, hey, Aaron, next series we'll get this thing going. That's the only one for me that's on the air. The other two, big impact additions for them, and to me, why it puts them back in the playoffs.
That ever happened to you, Jeff? The quarterback comes off, yells at you a little bit?
Maybe once or twice in my life. You know what I mean?
It happens on the show.
Every coach on our staff surrounded him. We got you, Peyton. We'll make sure it's all good.
Hey, you just run what I call.
You just do what I say.
Okay.
Here we go.
I think that's what he said to you.
Jeff touched on something. Jeff said something about one voice. He said it quickly, though, but it's important from just talking to the players on this team. The last few years, on defense especially, the Green Bay Packers, they had coaches, assistant coaches from all different units speaking to them. I'm told over there, their new defensive coordinator, that being Mike Pettin now, one voice. He's calling the shots. The guys, the entire unit, they're in one meeting room. That way, it's holding everybody accountable. Jeff, you've witnessed this before. You've seen him do this.
And Dinah, here's the point. When you go into a room as a player and you sit down and you know only one guy is making the final call. So if he likes it, it's a yes. If he doesn't, it's a no. You don't have to worry about, is the position coach going to disagree, or is he telling me to do one thing while somebody doesn't? When you're all on the same page, that's why his defenses are in the top 10 because everybody's held to that same level. And that's the excitement from a player perspective.
You know who that falls on, though? So that falls on Mike McCarthy.
I agree.
You can't let that happen.
No.
That should just never happen, period. Whether or not the defensive coordinator stinks or not.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't have your
Different
defensive
voices.
room or whatever room it is where everybody's going, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. No.
Right.
No. This is what you do, right or wrong. If it stinks, we'll get him out of here and get someone else.
That's right.
Simple as that. So
they got to be excited.
It's all thumbs up, Green Bay.
All good.
Coach McCarthy's done all right, though. First, they're coming up their first losing season since 2008. That was Aaron Rodgers' first year as a starter. 5 quarterbacks in the first round of this year's NFL Draft. Cowboys QB Dak Prescott was on Get Up this morning and offered his advice to all of them.
It was tough. It definitely was tough, but I give credit to my college coaches and then to my NFL coaches of teaching me and giving me a good background within the game in college. So when I got to the NFL, it's all X's and O's and nothing really changed from one level to the next. I mean, you had to learn a different scheme for the most part, but it's football. Every hole has to be assigned for, every gap has to be accounted for, and defenses don't necessarily, change up from one level to the next.
What advice are you giving to young quarterbacks who went high in this draft, higher than you did, and might be expected to play almost immediately?
Yeah, I mean, find that right veteran. For me, it was finding Jason Witten, finding that veteran just to watch and watch everything he does on and off the field, and go earn his respect and earn the other guy's respect by what you do on the field, and the rest will take care of itself. Just be prepared.
All right, Jeff, I'm going to be honest. I've just wondered this forever. How hard really is it to learn an NFL playbook?
It is very difficult. And I will say this. I disagree with what he said. When he said defenses don't change that much, let me tell you something. Defense from college to the pros is the biggest difference in football. Where in college, you may have 3 good defensive guys that you play throughout the season. It's every week in the NFL. So I definitely say it is a more difficult, because it's not the plays. Plays are plays, and he's exactly right. Gaps are gaps where you have to be assigned. Here's the problem. Can you adjust? That's the deep difference in the NFL and college, is the play isn't scripted. It's not, hey, every time we're in this look, we're going to get this play. That's not the case, because defenses are going to disguise, they're going to move, they're going to shift. That 3 technique, because the defensive lineman or the outside jet 9 technique takes things away from you. So it's not do you know the plays, it's do you know them so well that when the ball is snapped and an adjustment needs to be made, can you make it? Can you adapt and still make the play that needs to be made? That's the biggest difference in college and pro, and why learning the playbook is so much different, because it's not, hey, I'm going to go against a standard 4-3. It don't look like that anymore, man. That guy, that Mike, he gets paid a bunch of money to be where he's supposed to be, right? Kuechly knows where he's supposed to be. Thomas Davis knows where they're supposed to be. They're going to take what you do well out of your arsenal. What can you do to adapt and adjust? So let me tell you when it's easy. When you can turn around and hand it that running back and you go for like 2,000 yards in a season, I'm all about it. Makes it real easy too. But it ain't easy when everybody knows what you're doing.
Dak had a little bit of that. Lou, I want to ask you, how do the best coaches teach you the playbook? How do they give it to you? How do they get it in your brain?
Well, I think what it is, number one, I think a lot of the onus falls on the player as far as having to have a high degree of football intellect, number one, and number two, be willing to then take, just like you do in a classroom in college. Once a lecturer kind of gives you the information, then it's upon you to go ahead, go back, review it, and then when you get out on the football field, be able to walk through it. Coaches are able to explain exactly why they're teaching things in the succession that they are. They make it simple as far as how coverages and fronts build off of one another.
Yes.
If they make it kind of very sequential so it makes sense in your mind, we're going to start off with this standard front and coverage. Then we're going to adjust the front a little bit to this, the coverage, then we're going to adjust to this. We can have this kind of variation off of it. It all just kind of makes sense, Jack. That's how the best teachers teach. It's not like, hey, today we're going to throw this in. Hey, tomorrow we're going to work on nickel.
Right.
Tomorrow, we'll do 2 minutes today. And you know what? I've been in those kind of situations where it's just kind of like, none of this is making sense to me, man. When it's nice and sequential is when it's great. And really, look, just to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Jeff was saying here, look, it's about volume in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And defenses aren't just defenses in the NFL. There's so much volume, especially when you're talking about third down defense, where you can have somewhere between 10, 15, 20 different blitz packages in for a week. There's a ton of things for you to have to learn. And on top of it, because of how smart players are, what you see pre-snap, as he was saying, is not necessarily what we're giving you post-snap. Mm-hmm. So
almost all the time.
Look, I watch tape all the time. I consider myself a pretty cerebral guy, and I'm going, what the heck is this team doing? Yes. They're getting better and better at disguising what they want to do along with the volume. Look, there has never been a time where you need to be more smart to play in the NFL than right now.
Lou, you are the definition of a cerebral guy.
Oh, well, thank you.
So what I just learned is not that much different than just having a great teacher. We all had a great teacher at some point in our lives. So, Diana, what are the plans for Mayfield and the Browns?
We kind of hit the nail on the head. They're having the great teacher, and these two didn't touch on it, but Dak did. Having a veteran quarterback in front of you as a rookie quarterback is the biggest benefit you can have as a young quarterback, teaching you the way. And in Cleveland right now, that is what Tyrod Taylor is doing. Not only is Tyrod Taylor going to be the starter come week 1 for the Cleveland Browns, but while he's continuing his own career and rebuilding that, he's helping teach this rookie quarterback. Now, Guns N' Roses had that great song, Patience. That's the word that is being used inside that organization at this point right now, because they don't want to do what they did last year, which was go to Deshaun Kaiser, the rookie quarterback. He started 15 games. Hugh Jackson all in on him. And then it all changed, and it changed quickly, and they don't want to make that same mistake. And Jeff mentioned it earlier in the show. The general manager there in Cleveland is going to make sure they do this right, and Baker Mayfield doesn't step foot on that field until they believe he's ready, and that may not be this year.
The infrastructure surrounding the quarterback position is the number one thing you better get right as a GM now.
That's right.
And I mean not just the starter, but the backup and the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Everything has to kind of funnel down through that position and then spread out. And I'm telling you, quarterback meeting room, you know, the relationship between the backup and the starter and the backup, the number 3, this is so critical. Look, Philadelphia did it perfect. They did it perfect as far as how they had how they set it up for Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
A lot of people laughed at them and said, hey, look, why are they putting so much in terms of resources into that one position? Well, that parade that they had,
yes,
and Jason and Kelsey's speech, it's all work. Now you see why, because now they got a chance to do that, and now all of a sudden everybody's doing it. Everybody's kind of like really paying attention to what is the profile of our starter. If he's not the starter, what's going to be the profile of this guy as it relates to him being the backup? That's why McCown is important at the Jets. That's why Tyrod is important at the Browns. That's the one thing that scares you a little bit about Josh Allen's situation up there in Buffalo.
Amen.
Who is his mentor?
Amean.
Who is it? I mean, A.J. McCarron's trying to look, man, I'm trying to win the job.
He's trying to get it.
I'm not trying to mentor anybody.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, those guys got it right. That's the one to watch, though, to see how Buffalo plays.
And guys in Cleveland will tell you the last time we had a quarterback who really knew what he was doing was Josh McCown when he was there. So for them, it's nice to have Tyrod Taylor, a starter, a guy who's played and knows what he's doing and knows how to run that playbook, which is why there is a difference in the play out there during those mandatory minicamps. You do see a difference between Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield, which we expect to see.
Absolutely.
Coming right back to you. Let's do this. Let's run through all the teams with rookie quarterbacks and go with the plan. Start with the Jets. What is the plan for Sam Darnold?
Oh, I think this is the most interesting quarterback competition in the league right now. We're certainly all going to be keeping our eye on what New York is going to do because they have left the door wide open. Who can win this job? We assume it's going to be Josh McCown. Todd Bowles has actually said it's going to be Josh McCown. But you've got Teddy Bridgewater there. You have Sam Darnold. But I want to take it all the way back, Jack, to when the owner spoke about Sam Darnold after the draft. And I thought these words were so telling. He said, I think people are going to look back 20 years from now and say that this is the moment that the Jets shifted from a new gear and became a great team. Lou, do you see that quote? Do you hear those words? That is pressure. That is an organizational pressure put on a rookie quarterback and put on this coaching staff to play the guy they drafted at that number 3 spot. I do think that Sam Darnold is going to get on that field, not only because he has the talent, but that pressure is going to be surrounding him all season long.
Pressure or confidence? I mean, does it give you any confidence?
Hey, it's nothing new in the NFL.
That's exactly right.
Nothing new.
Right.
What other owner's saying that,
That's
Lou?
a short business.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
No owner's doing that.
Deal with it.
We'll keep it rolling. We'll go to Jeff, Josh Allen, and the Bills. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and listen, Lou just made a great point. It's what's the structure, and he said it. McCarron is going for the gig. He's not trying to teach Allen the ropes of the NFL. You know, and as you talk about how can this impact the football team, it's who's going to take charge of this, whether it's Peterman, McCarron, who's helping out, bring Allen along. Does it divide the coaching staff? Because we all know, listen, we all think everybody's together on a coaching staff. The reality is that QB coach may have a favorite, the OC may have a favorite. Everybody's got different ideas. The owner may have a favorite. So who ultimately gets the final call? I would say this, though. Richie Incognito and all the situation they have from him and his retirement from there, that offensive line is going to have to be what carries this Bills team, whether it's pass blocking or effectively running the ball with McCoy and the way they have to do it. That is the biggest thing for me to watch is, does that offensive line gel? Whether you like Incognito or not, guys who played with him liked him. They enjoyed him in the locker room. He was a guy that people, kind of rallied around. He's very gregarious and all the things. I know he has some issues going now. But that's a position that has to be filled, right? I mean, you have to be able to say, hey, from the Buffalo Bills standpoint, can they withstand significant pass rush? And they're going to bring it in that division. Somebody's going to find a way, whether it's the Jets, the Patriots, they're going to find ways to try to pressure, especially if it's a rookie quarterback starting. So you have to understand, can the offensive line carry this football team? And if they can't, going to be a long season in the cold Buffalo. I'm going to let you know.
And Shady McCoy has already said, I'm not big into rookies. And I like this guy. Talking about Allen. That's pretty good sign.
That's telling.
It's so funny. I remember when Shady was a rookie. Now he's talking like an old
Indy.
I'm not big into Shady.
You got your shot.
Yeah, you guys always say players know if a draft pick is really good to go or not. You know immediately if they're going to be players.
Sure.
Rosen, AZ.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let me kind of make this a little bit bigger picture before I talk about Josh Rosen. You touched on the fact that at Buffalo it's going to be about the offensive line. It is definitely about the offensive line in Arizona.
Yes, sir.
This team had their quarterback sacked 52 times last year. That was 29th in the NFL. Now, look at the profile of these two quarterbacks that were just doing those high knees on the field. You think Sam Bradford is the picture of durability? You think he can get hit 52 times? You think Josh Rosen, look, I love this kid, and I'm going to say this. He is not going to withstand 52 sacks.
No way.
Neither one of these guys. So the number one thing I want to see during the preseason, you better have a way, Mike McCoy, to protect the quarterback.
Preach it.
You better have a way to protect the quarterback when these guys drop back, number one. Number two, as long as you keep them healthy, which, look, I just don't know if Sam is going to be able to stay healthy regardless. I think this will be Josh Rosen's job sooner rather than later. And I think I want to watch here is situational football. That's what I want to see. How is my man doing at the end of a half in a 2-minute situation? How is he converting on 3rd and 6 plus? How is he converting in the red zone? And how is he distributing the football? Because I think this is a team that really is going to win as a team. There's really no go-to guy. Larry is the guy, Fitzgerald, but I want to see Josh just work in the field like he did at UCLA. That's a lot of things to look at, but a lot of things go into quarterback success.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of stuff that they got riding on all those things I just talked about.
Confidence, no issue for the man. Confidence.
No
I want to see him back those words up there.
Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. What do you think?
My eye is going to be on Joe Flacco, actually, because I think that this is going to be the best season that we've seen from Joe Flacco, all because he plays better when he needs to step up. The last time Joe Flacco had a little pressure on him, it was a contract year. Jack, remember what they did? They went out and won the Super Bowl. That's what they did. Yep. And I think with Lamar Jackson out there, this is a rookie quarterback who took every single snap on the last day of mandatory minicamp. That's a message. That's telling you something. And we talk about players being able to identify whether or not these draft picks are going to be busts or not. These guys talk about it all the time. They know. And when you hear the Ravens players speak about Lamar Jackson, they're not giving you the company line. They don't need to say the things that they're saying. They sound like they're excited and they believe that Lamar Jackson can make a difference. And if the result of that happens to be pushing a guy like Joe Flacco who knows what it takes to win a quarterback, then it's a win-win for the Baltimore Ravens.
And listen, Joe Flacco's no dummy. The reason that he's taking every rep, he sees the guy behind them and what he's doing. And he sees people in the locker room who trust it and are excited by it. Don't even open the window. Don't crack the door. Nothing, right? Take every rep. Take every moment that you can take and ride that thing and get everybody believing in you. Because the minute you open that door and let somebody else step in, man, you have no idea if you can ever close it back. And with a guy like Lamar Jackson who could be energetic and can bring that locker room, man, Joe, you better take every rep.
No,
you better get it.
It was the opposite.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Lamar took it. That's what made it crazy to think that. Why does it?
I got you. I follow you.
Joe's arm been sore or something like that.
Something like that. Are we still closing the window in this case?
You better close it all. Joe Flacco better get every rep. Don't open the door.
The last 10 drafts, 26 of 27 first-round quarterbacks have started at some point in their rookie years. These guys are going to have to play. We came up with 2 words to describe the Jags D last year. Lights out is what it came down to. I have a few others as well. The unit finished top 2 in the league in scoring defense, sacks, takeaways, and allowed the lowest QBR of any defense in the entire league. Jags finished 10-6, won the division for the first time since 1999. Welcome in now to the Verizon Film Room here with Jeff and Lou. So let's answer this question. What is it that makes this Jags defensive line so great, Jeff?
I remember playing the New York Giants when Coughlin was their coach and their D-line. They went to this NASCAR package where they could all pin their ears back and they could rush the passer. But on the way to rushing the passer, they could still shut the run down. Mm-hmm. This is what Jacksonville has done. They bring a level of toughness, and it starts with Campbell in the middle. He can flat out, make it happen. And then you think about Ngakoue, you think about Dante Fowler, and you think about Darius in the middle, and Campbell, and Malik Jackson. Every one of these guys will keep you up at night as an offensive lineman. You got to think about what each and every one of these guys can do. And it's in totality that makes them so effective. They stay fresh. They're all excited. They're all hungry, and they all play together. And when a defense does that, there's a reason they're number 2, and they're called lights out, because they will put your lights out.
And they did.
They did.
They put the whole league lights out last year. So we'll get to now Bortles. What did he show you last year, Lewis?
It's interesting because, look, when the running game is working in concert with the passing game, Blake can actually cut you apart. Remember the playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, first down, play action pass. Look, this is a guy who can, when you can separate the second and third levels of the defense via the play action, and the reads are real simple, Blake can do some things. It's third down and explosive plays when everyone knows you're going to pass it. When your team needs you to pass it, can you put it where it needs to be? That's where he fell short in the playoff game. That is really what their Achilles heel was last year. Explosive playmaking outside on the perimeter. They own it between the numbers. They signed Andrew Norwell from the Carolina Panthers. Yes. Why? Because they want to be even stronger up the middle. Because they know this. Look, this is one of the best red zone scoring offenses in the NFL. Third and short, fourth and goal, first and goal inside the 5. You know who they're coming with. They're coming with the guy who's just singing "Lean on Me."
Yes.
They're pounding him right up the gut. So you know they can play that way. It's can they get it up over the top when they need it? If Blake can do that, they'll get to the Super Bowl. If he can't, he can keep falling short.
Well, he could sing, couldn't he?
Yeah.
He can
he's a great he's a real good running back.
The Jags were the third team in the Super Bowl era to finish top 2 in scoring defense, sacks, takeaways allowed, absolutely crushed it, along with only the 1974 Steelers and the 2006 Ravens. Dominate like that, you're going to show up in the record books. So you tell me off camera for this whole segment. Jeff is way too good looking for that.
There you go.
ESPN.com, our ESPN national writers highlight one veteran on the roster bubble for each team. We'll highlight a couple right now, starting Baltimore. Rashad Perryman, first-round pick. Lewis, when do you give up on a first-round pick?
I'll tell you what, Jack, it's very subjective about when you give up on them. Look, sometimes you just know right out the box that you made a mistake because the performance on the football field does not match up with what you thought you saw in college. Now, if there's extenuating circumstances as far as injury or what have you or something like that, or like you just have him in a position that maybe doesn't really highlight his strengths and minimize his weaknesses, you give him more time. But this is something that can run the gamut. You see first-round picks, hey, if you can be cut after the first year because you're no good, cut him. Yep. It's just hard. It's emotional for GMs. They never want to admit it, ever.
Marshall in Seattle, do they need him, Jeff?
We're talking about the third receiver right now? Heck no. We're talking about Rashad Penny. We need that O-line. We need a run game so Russell Wilson isn't running for his life. Can Brandon Marshall help? Maybe, but who knows? If you're back there running for your life, you better be able to hand it off and go get some yards, get some toughness back in Seattle if you want to talk about it. I can't talk about third and fourth wide receivers, Jack. Way too early to do that. Talk O-line. You know what I mean?
You are real hype right now.
Mike Gillisley joins a crowded backfield in New England. Diana, what do you think? Is
much like Jeff Saturday's fan club, it is packed back there. Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, James White, that's just 3 of the running backs on this roster. And, Gilsey, he signed that 2-year, $6.4 million contract as a restricted free agent last offseason. And here's why he isn't guaranteed a spot. The Pats could cut him with no dead money on the salary cap. And remember, he lost his top spot to Deion Lewis back in week 6. So there's certainly no guarantee that this guy will be on the roster.
Time now for our 5-in, 5-out segment. Here's how this thing works. 20 of the past 22 years, at least 5 teams have appeared in the playoffs. Last season, there were 8 new playoff teams. Based on that, more than 20 of our insiders and analysts voted on 5 teams in, 5 out. Texans, Chargers, Packers, Ravens, 49ers, new to the mix. Panthers, Titans, Bills, Chiefs, and Falcons out. So far, we've looked at 4 teams. We've talked about the Packers, but now we go to the Panthers. First, we'll look back at their 2017.
He is ready for this football game.
Execution is the key today. Execution. How we execute, not them, how we execute.
they really believe he is as advertised.
And the shovel pass, McCaffrey, touchdown.
Oh, my goodness, McCaffrey, you a beast.
Carolina sent Kelvin Benjamin up to Buffalo.
We just lost a great player, but nevertheless, the Titanic still has to go.
Rodgers in trouble, but he launches a pass out of there. Near side intercepted. Rare miscue by the great Aaron Rodgers. And he launches a long pass downfield. Another interception. Newton fumbles the ball, picks it up, dives forward, and scores a touchdown. The Panthers come from behind and ensure a spot in the playoff.
Now when there's nobody to make a play, you make it.
5 interceptions coming in for the Falcons, 3 today. Atlanta clinched the 6th seed in the wild card.
This is for all the marbles. We can't lose.
This is when the real football starts.
Brees has the snap, throws a prayer, and it's intercepted. To go. It comes down to this.
4th and 23. Here's Newton under pressure, and he's going to be tackled and sacked. The Saints have prevailed.
So Carolina did the full overhaul to its offensive coaching staff. Parted ways with Mike Shula. Bring in Norv Turner to juice up the offense. Help Cam get back to that 2015 mojo, the year he was the MVP. Offense won't have Andrew Norwell playing guard, who signed a big deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars in free agency. The team also cut Jonathan Stewart, who was the franchise's all-time leading rusher, and 38-year-old Julius Peppers will return for another season after logging 11 sacks in 2017. Peppers' 10 seasons with double-digit sacks trail only Hall of Famers Bruce Smith and Reggie White. The Panthers took Maryland wideout DJ Moore with their top draft pick at 24. Moore led the Big Ten last season in both receptions and receiving yards. So with all that said, what is the biggest question mark right now in Carolina, Diana?
It's not just something that I think, but I know it's other coaches, especially in this division, think, which is how is this going to work on offense between Norv Turner and Cam Newton? Is Norv Turner going to be able to do with Cam Newton what no other coach has been able to do, which is increase his passing completions? He says he wants to get him into the 60s. Cam's actually done that 2 other times this season, but he hasn't been able to protect himself. He hasn't been able to get rid of the ball against the blitz 3rd down. That's going to be the key to his success. How's this going to work? Because we know what Norv Turner's done, and we know the kind of quarterbacks he's worked with in the past. And none of them were like Cam Newton. So how is this marriage going to work? That's going to be something that many people in the league are going to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and what Diana brought up, the point of the 3rd down and the completion percentage in 3rd down, tight ends are a big part of Norv Turner's offense and what he wants to get done. So can it be Olsen? Can the ball come out on time to an interior guys who are stretching the field in the middle of the field so that Cam doesn't have to run around and use his legs? So he knows when the blitz is coming. Hey, when that 3rd foot hits the ground, the ball's coming out. I'm going to make this kind of play. Norv pushes and drives. He wants to extend the ball down the field deep, but he loves to work the interior portion of the field. It's going to be interesting with his accuracy issues and that we've seen Cam have, especially after he gets hit a ton, and we know he's been hit a ton, is can he pull the ball down and put it where it needs to be in the middle of the field? That's going to be the biggest thing between he and Norv, because Norv ain't going to change, and you hope that Cam can get involved with what he's looking for.
One of the most efficient ways to push the ball down the field, Jeff, is play-action pass.
Yes, sir.
How does play-action pass work? Because you have a running back that people are scared of, a la Emmitt Smith. Your featured running back cannot be averaging under 4 yards a carry. You can't be averaging 3.7 yards per carry, Christian McCaffrey.
That's right.
That's where they're at. So
That's right.
That, to me, is what are they going? Who is going to be the bell cow back? Who's going to be the guy that makes it 2nd and 6 or less?
Yes.
2nd and 5 or less, and will do it play after play. If you want to increase his efficiency, make sure the defense has to go like this. Did they hand it off?
Yeah.
Secondary kind of pauses just for a second. That creates windows. That creates more efficient quarterback play. Christian McCaffrey, that's who they got to get going.
And there is no question, you mentioned it, Jeff, that they missed Greg Olsen. Missed 9 games in 2017. Cam missed him like crazy. Came back in the playoffs, 8 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown in that loss to the Saints.
Yes.
He was playing.